So in the yesterday's session, in the last session, we just completed up to data access set. In today's session, first we'll see the cross-validation rules, then we'll go with the security, and we'll continue from here. Okay. So cross-validation rules. Okay. Here it's very simple. When you talk about setups, we create the cross-validation rule, and then straight away we'll go and test it. So when we talk about cross-validation rules, we know what is the purpose of it. With the cross-validation rule, we can go and set up invalid code combination across the segment values. Okay, so very simple. However, we set an EBS at chart of account level. Here also the same logic should remain. The same way we'll be setting. Okay, we know, like, we don't need to assign these cross-validation rules to any other object, since we are going to set this cross-validation rule at structure level. So the same is applicable where the structure is being used in the different ledgers. Okay, so what we are going to do is, first we'll create the cross-validation rule. Just let me put here. Fine. So create cross-validation rule. Just call it as CVR. Cross-validation rule is nothing but CVR rules. Create CVR rules, and we'll just test it. Testing. So before we go and create it, what we'll do is, just we'll look into what are the segment values we have with the different segments, and we'll take on a case and we'll test the same. I'll go to journals. Okay, here let me just look into the segment values. And one more point I forgot to mention. Whenever you create the cross-validation rule, it's a mandatory you have to deploy the accounting flex field. Deploy accounting flex field. So within the accounting flex field only we have our chart of accounts. So it's mandatory you have to deploy, otherwise it won't get reflected. First we'll create, then we'll deploy the accounting flex field, and finally we can test it. Let's see what are the segment values we have. So company 1000. I want to set a rule saying that if company is 1000, okay, if company is 1000, department should not be marketing department. Okay, so this is a rule I want to set. The account can be any account. The condition which I am going to build is, okay, company, I mean to say if balance and segment value, right? Company here we qualified as a balance and segment. Okay, if PSV is 1000, department 3000 is invalid. Okay, this is what we are going to build. Define the cross-validation rule. So to create this cross-validation rule, go to project. Just click on setup and maintenance. Click on implementation projects. Click on overview so that it will just default our project which we created. Here search for cross validation rules. Cross here Q hyphen. Okay, that's how they given the naming convention. Cross validation search. The task name is manage cross validation rules. Okay. And click on go to task against the same. So we want to create the cross validation rules against which chart of account structure. Remember, this is an instance. Okay, whatever we use in the system for transaction process or any configuration, just always we use the instance only, not the one which we create initially as a chart of account structure. Chart of against structure we are creating instance. Okay, any process related configuration or controls or usage always instance only. So our chart of account structure instance name is Fusion Accounting Flexfield instance. Select it. Now click on create. Click on create. You can give the name here. I'll just give CVR1, and this is the description for that. Description is if BSV is 1000, department 3000 is invalid. I'll select from date, maybe from today, and just enable it. Here you can specify the if condition, here then condition. Okay, condition filter, just click on that filter option and add fields. Okay, you want to set condition like if company is, right? So I'm going with the company value. If company equals to, here just you can give all this condition. Okay, we have many just options where you can set up the conditions, but I'm going to set the condition as if company is equal to 1000, then say okay. If company is equal to 1000, then I'll say department. Okay, I'll say department okay does not equal, I can say. Okay, or else I can say not between. With a company 1, if you have a situation where 2 3 departments should not work, okay, or else you can say does not contain, whatever. I'll say here does not equal. If company is 1, department does not equal to marketing. Okay, so this is how just you can create a number of rules. Okay, a number of conditions you can define, and error message you can say if somebody is going to select with the company 1, department is 3000, so what message system has to pass? So it is invalid code combination, and just say save and close. If you want to create another rule, you can create it as per requirement. So once you're done with this, it's mandatory you have to go and do submit accounting flex field for deployment. Okay, otherwise don't take effective. So say chart of accounts, structure instances. You can take any navigation instance or structure we can see in the same form. So click on go to task. Even you can see the status as not deployed. Okay, incomplete status you can see. You can use the flex field. Accounting flex field. Right, you can see deployment status is incomplete. The reason as a within this accounting flex field against one of the structure we did some changes. That is nothing but we created CVR rule. Now you just use submit for deployment. Say okay. So deployment status is completed. Okay. Right now we can go and test it. So we know this rule is applicable for all the ledgers where this chart of accounts are being used. Okay. Go to journals. I'll do one thing, I'll just sign out and sign in. Sometimes it may not reflect. So user is Vision. Okay, you can from the springboard also you can just navigate. Sales, general accounting, journals. Say create journal. Select any one of the category. Select anything, just no issues. We'll do the batch name as expense batch. Say journal also expense. Now if you select department 3000 with company 1000, it should not work. Any account you can select just for testing. Say okay, it should not accept. See, it's not allowing, it is rejecting the selection. See, of course the prompt is not coming, but normally that is the issue we have in every instance. Okay, as for functionality, Oracle give an error message also, but in no instance that is working properly. The prompt is not coming, so click on OK, it's not taking. The reason we have a rule. Just that's all. And if I change to some other different department, it will accept. Say OK, done, accepted. So that's all about cross validation rule, how we can set this environment. And now what I'll do is, anyway we tested this, I'll just go on to disable this rule. Okay, in EPS also almost same process we follow, but their concept is include and exclude, right? But here it's not like include and exclude. You don't need to include what are the different segment values we have for each and every segment. Straight away you can go on to select the chart of accounts. You can specify what is the condition. That's how it works here. Okay, you may just disable it, or else you can give the to date, nothing but end date. I just disabled it. And I'll go to the structure definitions, accounting flex field. And since we did some change, it's again incomplete status. I'll just redeploy.
Lakshman, one question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, in the other test instance, like I'm getting some error when I'm deploying the flex field. It's not readable. So how can I fix this one?
So in another test environment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if, I mean, what exactly? What is the error you are getting? Where you are getting it? At what point of time?
When I deploy the flex field, when I clicked on the deployment error message,
Okay.
it says flex field metadata validation error, and it gives
Okay.
error code and
Yeah. That code. See, normally that errors, since you are referring test environment. Okay. Who is
yeah,
speaking? Venkat. Okay. So you can mute if you don't mind. Just I'll be explaining. Yeah. Thanks. So 1 second, just. See, once you submit for a deployment, yes, you may get some error. Sometimes even you get some error, okay, the deployment will takes place, and most of the time you can see warnings like this till the deployment will be completed. But in few cases, if there are some errors, yes, deployment status you don't see as a completed. Whenever you get any error and all, okay, you can just expand this, and here there will be detailed information. It shows because of which instance. Again, within that instance, I mean to say instance means chart of account structure instance. Okay, so our chart of account structure, because of which structure the error we are getting, and again what are the reasons for that error, also the detailed information you can see. In the test environment, the general reasons you see, somebody will create chart of account structure and instance, they don't assign labels, and they may assign the labels, and unnecessarily in the values at definition time they'll be selecting trees and some other information, high value, low value. That's how they'll be setting without knowing that what is the purpose and all. That will causes for this kind of issues. You just, I request you to go through this detailed log, there you can find the issue. And or else you send me some screenshot, I can go through it. If any possibility you can
no, I
share.
think I found it. For Acme Global COA, like one of the segment assignment is missing.
Hmm. No, I'm not talking about this. Just you in your environment, whatever you are referring within that, you can just go through it, and there you can find the reason.
I saw the reason. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
got it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's it. From here you can find it anytime. The flex field related deployment status, here you can expand, and you can have a very clear log information related to that error or warning. Okay, done. Fine, done. So deactivated this. Let me go and test once again whether the same is reflecting or not, so that we can proceed with other concepts to test in the same environment. It's directly, it is not opening if you click on set, so I'm just typing some test. It is supporting to open this prompt. I'll select 1000. Now it should accept 3000. Just select any account, no issues. It should accept now. It is disabled. Yep, done. Okay, it's reflecting. Fine, done. Okay, that's all about cross validation rules. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll just go with the security rules concept. Okay, security rules. So let me take this here and we'll discuss and we'll proceed. Simply we can call as SR, right? SR. The same cross validation rule, CVR. Fine. So when you talk about secure rule, we know like the secure rule you can set some restrictions. Okay, when you talk about EBS, we'll create some secured rule. The rule will assign to the responsibility. From that responsibility, the user who is trying to access the system, the rules will be applicable for that user through responsibility, where the SR works at responsibility level. CVR chart of accounts level, here also same. In case of a secured rule, as we know, we don't have any concept called as responsibility. Okay, so what level it will be working? Equal to responsibility, in Fusion we have data roles. Okay, so that means we'll create the secure role. The secure role will assign to data role. Okay, that data role will assign to user. That's how that it will get connected and it will be the controls will be enforced. Okay, to implement the secure rule, we'll just see what setups require. When I talk about the functionality, it's all about which user require access to, or which values require, which segment values access we want to give or we want to restrict, that can be defined by security rules. Okay, specific segment values security can be defined in terms of user access through responsibility as per EBS in Fusion through data role. Okay, let's go on the we'll see first, we'll see what are the setups need to be done the system to implement the security rules. Okay, so first we'll create the secure rule. So create security rule, then say assign secure rule to data role. Okay, after creating the data, after assigning secure rule to data role, to test this functionality we have to definitely go with a different user. So we'll create new user, and to which data role secure rule is assigned, we have to assign that data role to user. Say assign data role. Which data role, to which data role we are assigning the security role? Assign data role to user. And when I talk about role assignment to the user, it's a mandatory, we have to run the LDAP job, right? And run LDAP job. Then once these setups are done, only the parties testing will be left. We'll do the testing, that's all. Okay, fine. So So these are the basic configuration we have to complete for SR security rule implementation. Okay, let's go and do it. So, sorry. Just go to implementation project. Okay. Here there will be one task called as value set security. If not the task directly, you can go to value set. From there also you can do it. Both are same. It will connect it to same uh, function. Something like value set security. Segment value security, I think that is what the task name we have, but it's not mandatory how to navigate from here only. I think it is segment value security. Yeah, correct. So this is a task, but this is not only the task which you can use directly. You can go to the value set definition page. There you can find out your value set. From value set level you can start working on this. See here, manage segment value security rule. Okay, this is the task name, manage segment value security rule. Click on this. Okay, the same. Let me expand this. Manage segment value security rules. Click on go to task icon. So what it is opening, it is opening value set function, value set page. Okay, from here you can go and you can do it. Otherwise directly you can normally you can go with a value set navigation also. I'll say chart of accounts, value sets. Okay, you can go to this now task also. Here manage chart of account, value set values, value set values, not values, value set. Go to this task. What we have to do is we have to navigate to the page where from where we can find the existing value sets. That's all. Now we have a company 1000, 2000, 3000. Now say the requirement we want to give access to the user. Okay, we'll create the user called as, I'll create the user called as here Fusion SR security rule. I'll create user. For this user I want to give access to only balance and segment value 1000. I don't want to allow this user to record the transaction with balance and segment values 2000 and 3000. Take this as my requirement. Okay, so now how to set it up. So go to the company value set. So we give a name as Fusion. I think search with the Fusion. We have a Fusion company value set name. Now click on edit, select value set. We are not going to enter the values segment values through value set. We are going to define the security rule. To define the security rule, select value set, then click on edit. Here we have a security enabled checkbox. Okay, in EBS if you see security enabled checkbox, that always you can understand that is definition access set for any function. Okay, but here you don't see that. Here the option is, this is in the value set level, whatever you see as a security enabled, that is related to security rule. That means against this value set you are going to enable the security. When you refer EBS, what will do? Yes, the same security enabled checkbox will be enabling at value set level even in EBS. Okay, fine, just enable it. And you should write some name for this. Data security resource name. Because we are writing the name within our value set, you can write any just name. You don't need to address with a fusion as a prefix. I may write as SR1. Okay, just enable the checkbox, then this field will open, then give the name for it. Then after that you click on save, then this tab will be enabled. From this, through this tab you can create the SR. Just click on save. Okay, then click on edit data security. Then here we have to create the condition and the policies. Okay, under condition click on create. I'll give the name as BSV condition. BSV rule, the same I'm doing as a display name. Okay, here just click on add and column name value, select operator as I'll say equal to. When I say equal to, okay, I'll see many options here. Whatever you want to set accordingly you can set it up. Okay, I'll say not between. I can use not between so that those values won't get displayed. I'll say not between. I'll select the range. I want to restrict 2000 and 3000. So you can select any operator how you want to set it up, accordingly you can select. Or else I can select not equal to. In that case I have to I have to add two conditions. Okay, not between 2000 3000. That means remaining value is only 1000. That system will accept. Okay, then save it. This is the rule we created. Now this rule we have to assign to what I can say to this data data role. Okay, so just we created this rule. Fine. Now just go to policy, then click on add. Just you can write the name as BSV rule only. Just you can select start date, today date. By default system is selecting general ledger module. Reason within that value set level we have that option which you given. So go to roles. So this role you want to assign to which role? Click on search. Search for the roles. You have to assign to data role. So I'll search with Fusion USA primary ledger. So what role we can select? I'm going to select this role. Role name is General Accountant Fusion USA Primary Ledger. I'll select it. Say apply and OK. And go to rule. Okay. Row set multiple values, or you could keep it anything. This you can set all value, any value you can select. Just I'm selecting all values. Then submit it. Just click on done. Just I will sign out and sign in to test it. Okay, sorry. We have to create a user and all, right? So now we'll do that. Just we created rule and we assign to that as a part of that. Now we'll go and create the new user for testing purpose. Because from this, if you are trying, you may have access because other roles also can have privileges to that. So we should create separate user to test and understand how it is working. Go to IDM. So here we'll create the user called as Fusion SR. Any value you can select user type. Assign that role. Fusion USA primary ledger. So for which data role we assign the SR, that role will assign to this user. Sorry. Display name, you can drag this side. Now you can expand. So which role we assigned? General accountant Fusion USA primary ledger. For this data role we assigned SR. So the same role I am going to assign to this user. Okay. Because in case of VBS, there may be a number of responsibilities assigned to the user, but switching is possible. Okay, you can switch, but here there is no switching from where you can switch from one data role to another data role. By default, across all the data roles, what are the privileges the user can have, all the access user will be having. That is the reason we cannot test this function from the current user. So that is the reason we are creating the separate user now. We assigned, and so you may assign another role called as employee role, which is a very generic role which will give access to running the reports from the user. Because see, when we talk of finance point of view, this employee user means what we call abstract role, right? Abstract role, this is required to submit the request and all. But HCM point of view, it got other meaning also. In HCM point of view, if you don't assign employee user, the employee cannot have access to that, accessing the pay slips and looking into personal information and the self-service access, that kind of access that user cannot have. Okay, but finance point of view, that is not related to that. Simple point here, finance point of view, just this user cannot have a access to schedule process. So this is how it is limited here, but at same point of view, the definition is totally different. Okay, So now you can run that schedule process. Schedule process. So the two latest LDAP changes. Say okay. Submit.
Lakshman, one question.
Yeah, please.
So for this new user, we assign this new role. It has the restriction. Okay. So even for the other Fusion user, we have this role and the other roles also. So
Hmm.
will there be any restriction because of
Yeah,
this
it
role?
will that will conflict and all. So that is the reason we are not testing from that. To test that, I created separate user and I'm testing. Okay, for that user through other roles, the privileges that user will be having, but with the same role, the privileges will be restricted. So if you test in that environment, it won't work. Okay, fine. So that is the reason just I'm creating. If there is
Yeah, but
situation where one second once, if there is some situation where you want to give where you don't want to give access to balance segment value 2000 and 3000, in that case, how many roles we have for that user for GL, for all the data roles we assign that rule, then it will be that will be fine if that is a requirement. Yeah, now tell me if you have any question.
no, just because in like a race to like we may have two responsibilities. One responsibility will have some restriction,
Yeah,
and
that's
for
what.
some other user,
Hmm.
we may assign both responsibilities. And if they log into, let's say, GL senior or junior, junior has some restrictions.
Hmm.
So if they
You
log
one
into,
second, got it. In that case, create two rules and assign to two different data roles. Okay, or else you create custom data role and assign as per the requirement. If you think only one data role you have which is generated by system, and as per the business requirement different data roles are required, you can create it. You tell me your requirement. If you have some specific question, you just ask me, I'll tell you how to do it.
no, my question was like for the fusion, we have both roles, accounting and the other two roles.
Yeah.
So
No, no,
will
no.
there be,
One point here. You tell me what you are able to achieve through EBS, what you are not able to achieve. I mean, what you are thinking you cannot achieve through Fusion. Then I can give you the quick answer for that. Then we can proceed.
okay, no, my question is like, let's say we have two responsibilities,
Two
like fusion
responsibility one and responsibility two.
one and two. So two has some restriction, and I assign both responsibility to one user. So
Hmm.
if the same user like accesses through one, he can access everything. But
Hmm.
he access responsibility two, he will have some restriction.
Hmm.
But here we cannot have that
Yeah,
such kind of
that is
scenario.
the point. The same point I explained also. The same point I explained because in EBS, yes, whenever you go on to select responsibility, responsible base, that function will work, the rules and all. But here, everything we are assigning to the user. From user, there is no option of switching the data role. Switching the data role. If that is the situation, you should have a separate user only. Okay.
Okay, okay,
Yep, same, but data role is same. If data role is same and you need it differently, since data role is going to be different, same, you cannot manage two different accesses for one data role. In that case, definitely users, what I can say, two users required. Generally, that is a rare scenario. For one data role access, the two different privileges may not be required. Okay, if the role is going to be same. Yep. Fine. That is a valid point. Okay, but here you should go with the separate user only if that is the situation. Fine, we submitted. So now we can go ahead and we can test it. Just before we just do this, I'll just log out and I'll log in with the whatever the user we created just now. Sorry, it's a Fusion SR. So Oracle. Think I have to set password. I'm not sure. I forgot. Let me reset password for the user, whatever we created for testing. Fine. So for this user role only, for this whatever the data role we assign to this user, we have the secure rule applicable. The secure rule we assigned, right? So now we'll go and try to record the transactions other than balance and segment value 2. In case of EBS, okay, what happens? Just you can when you go. I mean, when you set SR, the system won't allow you to see the balance, the respective value which is restricted. Right here also it works in the same way. Just click on this, type some test and tab out. It will open. Now if you go here, you can see only. It should not come. Just 1 second. First of all, it should not display also. It is accepting. It's not applied. Okay. Let me just go and check. Basically for this deployment, it's not related, but let me go and check with the deployment status. But generally for SR, you don't need to do that. So only CVR case deployment, it will just system will set back to incomplete. We have to do that, but here not required. Let me just cross check. It's there with incomplete. Let me just complete this. Okay. Let's go and try now. Switch journals. Click on this drop down. Still it's not applied. It's not. Fine, I think rule definition I did something wrong. Just let me go to the rule definition. So edit policies, edit. Let me go to rules. So let me select condition here. The condition whatever we created. BSV rule. I think here I went wrong. save and submit. Create of accounts structure. Let's check whether it is resetting to incomplete. No, because of that it's not in save. But I'll resubmit. Okay, that's what I'll discuss. It's not generally not required if you go and define the SR, but I will just resubmit for deployment. Then say okay. Okay, now let's try with that user. Fusion SR. General accounting journals. Create journal. Okay, there should be access only for balance and segment value 1000. Just click on this drop down. Only one. So there we forgot to do the mapping. That's the reason it was not coming. Okay. Now this user can create the transaction only for balance and segment value 1000. This is all about security rule. So here's a just I'm going to disable the rule because this test environment will be testing different concepts. It may reflect somewhere else. So that is the reason. Just what I have to do is basically value set, right? Accounts value set, value sets. Otherwise, for the current user, we have that role also that will conflict, and you may not get access to any value. That's how it will be behaving sometimes. So for that reason, just I want to disable that. Go to edit. Let me delete it directly. How to save it? To condition. Submit. Okay, I'm just disabling it value set level also. But also directly instead of deleting all this, you can disable here. Just one click, it can be completed. So that's all about CVR and SR, cross validation rules and those security rules. Done, done. And I will see the ledger set concept. So when you talk about ledger set, the same functionality point of view and the conditions point of view, it remains same as EBS. We know. So from in case of EBS, okay, in case of EBS, with a ledger set, what we can do, we can group the multiple ledgers. So the multiple ledgers we can assign to one responsibility through ledger set. So from single responsibility, user can have access to multiple ledgers. But in the fusion case, we can group the multiple ledgers and we can map to one role. That means from single data role, if user wants to have access to multiple ledgers, we can use here. There, to access multiple ledgers from single responsibility like EBS, in Fusion we have equal to responsibility data role. That means through one single data role, if user require access to multiple ledgers, we can create the ledger set. So instead of EBS switching from one to other responsibility, we'll be using here instead of not switching is not possible. Instead of maintaining the multiple data roles for one user with one data role, you can give access to multiple ledgers. That is the logic here. When you are creating the ledger set, we know the condition, the chart of accounts and calendar should be same. The same condition is applicable in EBS as well as Fusion also. Okay. So now to test this ledger set concept, what we'll do is we'll go and create one more ledger. When you are creating one more ledger for testing purpose, we have to make sure that whatever the calendar and chart of accounts used, the same we have to use here also, right? So now what we'll do is we'll go and create one more ledger. Let me just give you the setups. So create new ledger. Okay, once you create new ledger, okay, anyway, we know system will be creating the data roles. That's a different point. So any ledger you create, system will create the data roles against the ledger, GL data roles. Then we'll create ledger set. Okay, we'll create ledger set. After creating the ledger set, the moment you create the ledger set, what system will do is system will create the data roles for ledger set. Okay, data roles for ledger set, and then we'll create the user assign ledger set data roles to new user. I'll call it as new user. Fine. Then since we are creating new ledger, it's mandatory we have to open periods. Now we can go and test it. Okay, so this is what we are going to see now. Okay, to create the ledger set, we require minimum one more ledger with the same calendar and chart of accounts. Otherwise, you cannot group the ledgers. Right, let's go and create one more ledger. We'll use the same chart of accounts and same calendar whatever we created. Now straight away, let's go to implementation project. And click on overview. Okay, the direct task is create manage primary ledgers. So create primary ledger. I'll just say here Fusion India primary ledger. Just for testing, I'm taking this name. Chart of account structure instance. Fusion accounting flex field instance. Calendar, we should select the same. Fusion 13, this is our calendar. The currency, definitely it will be different. So that is our Indian rupee. And the accounting method says standard accrual. Says save under edit task list. So now let's go and set specify ledger options. So within one project, if you are going to have multiple definitions, those can be primary ledgers or business units, whatever. Here in specify ledger options, if I go, already the scope is already selected as a Fusion USA primary ledger. Now if I click on go to task icon, system will open ledger options for sorry, ledger options for Fusion USA primary ledger. But our requirement is we want to set the ledger options for India primary ledger. In that case, you have to click on the scope. Then only it will give the option to select. You want to set the ledger options for which ledger. But just remember this point. Click on ledger options, not go to task icon. Select it. Select and add. Sorry, it's a ledger ID field here. So select India primary ledger. Can say select and close. Now in ledger options will be open for India primary ledger. Select default journal language. These and all we have in EBS also, but there by the system will default, but here it's not defaulting. That's it. And provide returned earnings account. These values are not coming. Let's wait for some time. These values are not coming here. One second. Company not coming. Department coming. Account is we're getting. Probably the company. We disable, right, that there is a value set level, whatever the security rule we created, that we just disabled. What is the status we have as incomplete? Let's complete the status. But general SR won't impact this instance status, deployment status. I'll just sign out and sign in. Just let me check here. We are able to pass the journal or not with that. That's working fine here. It should work there also. Okay, we'll see now. Specify ledger options. See here, when you are working on it, make sure that you are not selecting secondary ledger related ledger options. Okay. Cool. It's coming. Only the deployment set to incomplete, so that's the reason it's not coming. Select department. Select return earnings account. Save and close. and now you can go on to submit this. Okay, review and to submit accounting configuration. Okay, here we are not going to create the legal entity and assignments and all not required. Balance segment values to legal entity because we are not going to record any transaction with this. Just for testing to check how uh, to check this ledger set functionality. For that, all the setups are not required for us. Just you can go and submit. So Fusion primary India primary ledger. Say okay. Now system will create the data rows. Okay, so we created ledger and that's all. Just we create ledger and we complete. Now we'll go and create the ledger set. We can search here for ledger sets. Okay, task name is manage ledger sets. Click on go to task icon. Just click on create. Say Fusion ledger set. So with which criteria you want to group the ledgers? The criteria of definitely the criteria should be chart of accounts and calendar. Which chart of accounts and which calendar combination? Fusion accounting FlexFill instance. Calendar is Fusion 13. And if you want to set one ledger as a default ledger, yes, you can set it up. You may set US ledger as a default, and if you want to override, you can override to India also. And here you have to list out which ledgers you want to give access. So with this criteria, with this chart of accounts calendar, only two ledgers we have. Those are these two. Let's say save and close. Now system will create the data roles for this ledger set. Okay, system will create the data roles for this. So now we'll go and we create a ledger, new ledger, and by using that ledger and existing ledger, we create a ledger set. Since calendar and chart of accounts are same for both. And now we'll go and create new user and the new data role, whatever system created for ledger set, that data role will assign to this new user. And it'll open the periods for the new one what we created. Then we can go ahead with the testing. We can see whether user is able to access to those two ledgers or not. Let's go and create the new user.
Well, Lakshman, like we'll have two set of roles, one for the ledger and one for the ledger set.
Sorry? No.
Will we have two set of roles?
Not required, not
the...
required. See, simple point. When you create ledger system, create the data roles for ledger. The moment you create the ledger set, for ledger set it will create the data roles. Now we have to assign only ledger set related data roles. The ledger set data role will give privileges to all the ledgers which we have within the ledger set. That's all. Okay, if you want to access only like Fusion India primary ledger, anyway the data roles will be created accordingly. You can assign to which user require access to only India primary ledger. Now my requirement is I want to access to two ledgers. Two ledgers we have in the ledger set. The moment you create the ledger set, for ledger set also system will create the data roles. How generally system create the data roles for ledgers. That's it. Clear, right?
Thanks, Lakshman.
Yep. Now we'll go and create the user. I'll give the name as Fusion LS ledger set. here you can assign those data roles. Search for Fusion Ledger set. In order generated. And these are for some other ledgers. We know like that the synchronization takes some time. Yep, now it's got populating. So these roles we can assign to the user, one or multiple as per your requirement. Okay. So now let's go and run the lab.
A lot of background noise from your end.
Yeah, I cannot do anything in the next institute in the on the top. I'm in third floor. In the fifth floor, they are moving some chairs and all. Another institute. I don't have another option. Okay, I'm really sorry for that. Even I'm not using fan or AC because that will create noise. I'm sitting in that situation now every day. Okay, I'm just always trying max what I can do from my side because I'm not switching on fan also. It will create some background noise. We are recording these sessions. I remember always. Okay, that I cannot go and tell them to wait. I'm taking the class. Okay, I'm really sorry for that. Okay, let's take 5 minutes break. Maybe they may complete their task instead of getting the noise from my side. Let's take 5 minutes break. Yeah, now we can continue. Okay, so this is a user which we created. Now let's go to this user for journal creation. Now there should be access to this user to create the journals for two ledgers. So one we set as a here ledger set system is display. So through this ledger set, user can have access to two ledgers only. Create journals. So here one we set as default, right? Fusion USA primary ledger we set as a default at the time of ledger set definition. That's the reason system is defaulting this. If you want to overwrite, yes, you can overwrite. Why it is not coming? What issue with this? Here it's coming. Ledger set. Yes. Yeah, that is the reason. The periods are not open. That is the reason it's not coming. That I mentioned also. So open periods, then we'll test it. Just I forgot to do that. Since periods are not open, it won't display. You can go and open the periods for India ledger, then that will be in the drop down options. So where do we have that? Now seems to go to direct to this task called as period close only. So here you select your India primary ledger. Open periods, never open status for John. First period, yes. Our status is not that. Yeah. Now India primary ledger, John to 17 period status is open. Okay. Now you can go and see from here. Just go to journals. Now this user can have access to only these two ledgers to create the journals or to perform any GL related transactions. Because now data access name is Fusion Ledger Set. Go to journal creation. So manage create journal. Now this user can create journals against USA primary ledger or India primary ledger. That's it. So once you select currencies is getting these changed, and accordingly you can enter and you can post. That's it. So that's how that's the concept of ledger set. We know very well in EBS. Seen here they just moved, no changes. Fine. So now the next concept we have here, ledger set with that. And reporting ledger, or you may call it a reporting currency. If you want to report the primary ledger transaction in the different currency, okay, only the currency, as is everything remains same, only if the currency is with a different currency, if you want to represent the transaction from primary, we use reporting ledger. Let's see how to work on it. It's a simple concept here. Okay, So whatever you do exactly in EBS, same you can do and you can implement here. So when I talk about reporting currency, just we have to create the reporting ledger, then we'll create a user, we assign the roles, and we'll open the periods, we'll pass the journal in the primary ledger that should be reported into reporting ledger in the different currency. Before that, we have to make sure that we created rates. Okay, fine. Let's go do this steps one by one. Okay, we'll just go through it and we can wind up the session for today. So I create a reporting ledger. After creating reporting ledger, system will create the data roles for reporting ledger. However, system is creating the data roles for primary ledger. The same way it will create the data roles for reporting ledger. So then what we'll do is we'll create, for testing purpose, definitely we should go with a separate user. Then only we can understand how it is working. So create new user and say assign reporting ledger data roles to user. Okay, we have to assign that roles to the user. So after assigning the roles to the user, anyway, that process we know we have to run the synchronization program and all that. I don't know to write. Let me write no issues. Run LDAP job and just then what we can do is after doing that before we go to pass the transaction the primary we should open the reporting ledger period. Say open periods in reporting ledger. Okay. Then so we'll be recording, say we have a primary ledger in USD. So we may create the reporting ledger in INR. The moment you create the transaction in USD, that has to be reported in INR. For that we have to define the daily rates. Okay, create daily rates. Okay, so this all comes under setups. I will talk about process. Create journal in primary ledger and post it. Find reporting journal in reporting ledger. I'll just say it's reporting only. We don't want to call it as reporting journal. Find journal in reporting ledger and reporting currency. This is what we are going to test with the reporting ledger concept. Let's go and complete these setups. First, we have to create the reporting ledger. Fusion. Go to implementation project. So reporting currency. Search with the term called as reporting currency. Reporting ledger. I think currencies only we have something like currencies. Yep. This is the task we have to create the reporting ledger. So manage reporting currencies. This is the task. Select. Okay, manage reporting currencies. Here the point is very important. You are going to create the Reporting ledger against which primary ledger, okay, that should be there in the scope. Okay, here we have Fusion India primary ledger. This got selected as scope. Reason, we specified ledger option for this. Now the reporting ledger you are going to create to report the transaction from which primary ledger, that primary ledger should be here as a scope. Change the scope to USA primary ledger. That's very important. Okay, so now we selected scope. Now you can click on create and give the name as Fusion India reporting ledger. Just India only. I'll just call it as reporting ledger. Okay. Currency conversion level. In case of reporting, yes, we'll go with the journal level, and you can specify. I'm just giving the same as a description also. And you want to do the reporting in which currency? In INR. First open period. Okay, let it take the same. Set default rate type. I'll say corporate. Sorry. So these are the basic parameters you can provide, and save and close. Now based on this setup, system will create the data roles for this reporting ledger. So save and close. Completed. Now next step is we are done with this. Now we'll go and create the new user. Vision reporting ledger RL I am giving. Select organization as accelerate user, which is a dummy value just to complete this setup, which is predefined. Any value you can select user type, and here user login also I'm giving as sorry. Now send the roles. Fusion reporting. Search. Okay, not yet generated. Take some time. We'll wait for that. I think they schedule the job every 5 minutes. I guess. So almost from the time we created it is taking around 5 minutes time to get generated. Okay. Meantime, we'll go and create the rates. Okay, we'll create the daily rates. Daily rates. Create a spreadsheet. Zip connect. Okay, anyway, it will create inverse, right? So you can set USD to INR. Automatically, it will create INR to USD. That we can type here, it will accept. Rate type is corporate. Date, month, date, year. Okay, so I'm creating for 1 day. I'll say $1 equal to 67. I'll submit. Okay, rates we created. Only just we have to assign the roles, run this program and open the periods. Now it should be ready. Roles will be ready now. Vision reporting got generated. Those you can assign one or specific or all anything. And submit LDAP. Okay, we assigned and just we done. We are running this, and only the left tasks are opening the periods. Let's go and do it. It may take some time, and before it completes, also we can get the privileges. Sometimes that's how it will behave. So username is Fusion RL. To sign in and reset the password. Just go and open the periods. Period close. Reporting ledger INR. GL. But you can ignore it. It will be showing like that. So fine, just we open the periods. Now what we can do is, let's go and create the journal in primary ledger. Journals. Create journal. Select any one of the category. Let's say $10 lakhs. Okay, the moment we post, this will be reported to reporting ledger by converting the currency. Just in that case, you select the different row, it will accept. Save, complete, post. So posted. Now go to reporting books. This reporting books already open in our different browser. Go to journals. So manage journals. Accounting period is John. Source is manual only. Here we can see that system reported from primary to reporting ledger in reporting currency. What we entered is 10 lakhs, that is equal to, this is the value. Okay. Sorry, 6 crores 70 lakhs. So the same process and same logic we have in the EBS. Okay, that's all for today. If you have any questions on today's session, please. Still we have concepts like pending. Here we have budget load concept. else we have along with that? What will left? So OTBA reports, right? In the BI also, BI the basic how to prepare the reports because it goes into technical work, but I'll show you the basic how just how to prepare the basic report, and I'll show you, as I said, rapid implementation. Means in the rapid implementation means there'll be spreadsheets through that we can load it, but we'll see how to load the primary ledger and business units and all, how to load in the system, that we'll see. A rapid implementation approach I'll show you. The other one I'll just show you. It's a simple concept I'll show you, but I didn't mention the course content. What is that we call as configuration packages. Because this is a concept which we use to move the settings from one instance to another instance. Okay. To move settings from one to other instance, other environment. And I'll give you the overview on, because we cannot do that kind of things here. Overview on third-party integrations. Okay, how third-party integrations can be done in the Fusion environment. What is the best possibilities we have? I'll take you through that for your information. Okay. So, any questions, please? Any questions on today's session? Okay, seems to no questions. I'll be available for 5 more minutes in this meeting. Okay, if you have any questions, meantime you can ask me. So I'm going to wind up the session for today. Okay, see you in tomorrow's session. Have a good day and good night. Thank you all.
Lakshman,
Yeah, Venkat.
this last time also I asked you regarding the PPM training. When the course is going to start? Any idea? Can you send me the course content?
Yeah. We are. I'll be sending the course content. Max will be starting maybe in the week or this week or next week. I'll send you I'll send you the mail once the dates are fixed. Just I'm waiting for the dates. Like when I talk about PPM, it's a rare and a few guys generally will be opting for that course. And even the market also demand also we have in the same way. That is the reason we are not having very frequent batches. So that's the reason I could not
Okay.
give you the update. But max within 2 weeks, definitely we are going to start the batch. We are going to cover all the modules. Earlier we run one batch for only costing and billing. Okay, now we
Okay.
are going with a complete scope of the PPM, full scope, all the modules.
Okay, Lakshman.
Yeah,
Lakshman,
yeah. May I know who is speaking?
so do you have any? This is Sarath Lakshman.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I request you to give the name when you are joining, full name, so that's how we identify the people. And other thing is,
No, I gave my name.
I can see
No, I
just
gave my
yes.
name.
I can see just yes your display name.
Huh.
Yep.
I gave my full name, I think, maybe.
No.
Okay.
You can give edit name and all. Okay, fine, no problem. From now I can understand S means Sharath. Okay, no issues. Yeah. Tell me.
Okay. So do you have any specific batches on the weekends only?
Yeah, weekends we have batches and we are running. That batch we are in the almost middle. Again, to start
Mhm.
weekend batch, it may take 2 more months
Like,
because
yeah,
because
like
our
like the BPM and those kind of.
you are referring which course?
BPM, like the people, all those things actually.
Oh, we are not running any technical courses. Only we we generally focus on functional, at
Okay.
finance, procurement, SCM, PPM, HCM, CRM.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, fine.